Hey there gamer, let's talk. So it's no secret that Dying Light 2 is amazing, and that is for plenty good reasons, such as the parkour or melee combat systems. However, if you played the game like I did, more times than I should, you can see some cracks that start to show up, partly from difficult loading, as I'm gonna call it, as well as promises that were kept but in the worst way possible. What do I mean by that? Well, in order to understand what I'm saying, we need to dive back a little, all the way to some of the release trailers. Let's start off with the Dying Light 2 gameplay trailer that they released, showcasing a lot of things, but I want to focus on two of those things. 1. Choices that impact your world. 2. Dynamic world environment. In the trailer we see some of the consequences our choices have, with the prime example being that Frank is unalived. After that, we're being told that nearly all of our decisions have an impact and will shape the world around us. But it doesn't. Or does it? You see, it doesn't really matter whether or not you side with either side, because you still go and do the same things, such as meeting with a GRE scientist, going to the city center, and going to find Waltz to find your sister. It's more of a do you want to do this way or that way type of thing, which you don't encounter the first time you play the game because you don't know what the heck is happening, but becomes really apparent on subsequent playthroughs, when you realize that it just didn't matter and you were always going to find the scientist and so forth. This creates a problem, because there is nothing at stake here really. Sure, some characters die and some live, but you don't really care? I mean, sure, if you side with the Peacekeepers, Anderson will live.
Does anyone even remember her?
And if you don't, she dies. And aside from that, and some very neat gameplay changes, such as the jump pads for survivors or the car traps for Peacekeepers, the only thing that changes is either the Survivor Bazaar outpost or the main Peacekeeper outpost in Old Villador. And that's about it. The only time where your choices actually matter is right at the end, so let's talk about that. The main course of the story is at the end, where you do about 5 choices and then, well, that's it. You get a different ending depending on which choices you made, and yes, previous game choices matter, but only for like 2 characters, such as if you leave the city by yourself or with Hakon or with your bitch, Loan. Your sister dies, and it's kinda meh. You know, leaving a sour taste on your mouth. What's funny is you can go and visit the factions you didn't side with, and now you don't get any weird looks, they don't treat you any differently, they're just there, taking it back. You can just go back to the boat after betraying quote-unquote Jack Matt in the city center, and continue to do side quests like nothing ever happened. Those things should have changed as well, and it would make everything a lot more immersive and appealing, so that your choices would truly matter. But now, let's get into something completely different. Now this is only speculation here on my part, but do you remember seeing the gameplay trailer when Aiden falls down into the Dark Zone? Now, for those of you who don't know, Dark Zones are highly lethal infected areas that you don't go during the day, and only during the night to loot some things, because no one would go there during the day to loot so easy money. That moment in the trailer looked and felt natural, as if you would go to any building and maybe, whoops, skill diff. However, this wasn't the case for the entirety of the game, and the buildings, regardless of day or night, stayed extremely dull apart from the map known Dark Zones. It would be so cool seeing these different gameplay elements of secret and non-secret Dark Zones interact with each other, where you may fall accidentally into one either during the day or during the night, and it would be completely unknown to the player. But hey, what do I know? It does seem, however, that the devs did indeed plan for more natural occurring events to happen all throughout the game, seeing how it was in the trailer and an internal building design. But I think something like that would be extremely difficult to pull off from a developer standpoint, so I think that's why they didn't. Speaking of the story, however, I would like to emphasize that the Dying Light 2 story is an extremely upgraded story from the first game, where everything was cliche and very predictable.
Like, anyone surprised that Raheem actually went and set off the explosives as they've been told not to for roughly half of the game? Or, you know, that Rice didn't give us Antizin after we did what he asked? Come on now.
But to circle back to the topic at hand, there isn't much of a change, if any change, to like 95% of your choices. But I have to address the elephant in the room, the entire unlockable playable area. The greatest in-game impact that you can have is unlocking a small part of the city that was previously locked because of the water in the dam, which unlocks a watered down version of the city remains.
Get it? Watered down version, because it was underwater.
This area used to add the following things. 1. New enemy type. 2. More safe zones. 3. Endgame military airdrops. The airdrops were used to farm endgame loot. Safe zones are safe zones, and the enemy type was a boomer that dealt huge amounts of damage if it exploded near you. Thing is, nobody really wanted to unlock that part of the game because the boomer was extremely strong and, more importantly, annoying. One-shotting you at like triple your health from when you started the game, and then the devs decided to nerf him a bit and put him back into the base game, just like the volatiles, but they stay at the kernels area, which makes it a lot more manageable considering you almost never go to that area anyways. So now that new area has nothing new really, but simply extends the playable map by a small amount. Not good enough. To not make it look like simple Dying Light 2 bashing, the combat system is phenomenal and the parkour system is even more incredible. Dark zones such as the hospital, dark hollows, and forsaken stores are all great additions to the game. The grappling hook is busted despite its history of nerfs and buffs, and the paraglider was just simply always busted. Inhibitors are a great reason to search the map a bit and visit some locations that you normally wouldn't have, and the GRE anomaly reminds me of your mom. Thank you ladies and gentlemen for watching. Dying Light the Beast has been announced and has made me super stoked about its release, so you can definitely expect something spicy from me when that comes out. Take care y'all, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.